Welcome to Down to Earth Astrology and Primal Girl Wellness. This is Miss Jenny, and I am your astrologer. This video will be about the musician slash entrepreneur slash artist Kanye West, who is currently going by the moniker Ye or Ye. Oh, I don't even know. So in this video, we're going to look at his natal chart, and also we're going to touch on the asteroid Icarus, which is apparently really being activated right now in his chart and giving us an opportunity to really witness Icarus and Saturn aspects in action. So here we go. Kanye West, genius, madness, ambition, and art. Kanye West, who is now called Ye or Ye, born June 8th, 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia. We do not have a birth time for him. He is a musician, an entrepreneur, and now, for the purpose of this video, a moral tale about the lessons in a Saturn-Icarus opposition. So in case you've been living under a rock, Kanye West is recently a very vocal, visible, public supporter of the MAGA movement, which, mystifies all of us. um, And mind you, we've all, for a very long time, for many, many reasons in multiple episodes, suspected that Kanye West has some mental health issues that may or may not be being addressed. So there's some of that to consider when we look at this bizarre position to take in terms of socio-political standing. So there's that. And recently, as if it couldn't get good enough, he's made really inflammatory conspiracy theory based anti-Semitic remarks and just, oh, wow. So, needless to say, Kanye West has really lit the flame of, did you really go there? Are you serious? Have you lost your damn mind? Um, and as a result of him exercising his right to free speech, he is also learning, as of now, that the right to free speech does not protect you from the consequences of your free speech, and he is losing sponsors left, right, and center. There are major companies that are literally dumping his line and his products at an expense to themselves because they are so absolutely want nothing, and I mean nothing. Like we'll take the financial loss for this, want nothing to do with him because of these conspiracy theory based, insane anti-Semitic remarks he's made. So, which is in keeping with MAGA and the supporters and their belief systems, but then again, these people also believe in conspiracy theories, and science isn't real, and you know how that story goes. Ooh wee. So I was looking at his chart, and I'm like, what on earth could possibly be going on with this man? That this is where we're at right now, and more specifically, because listen, you can believe any crackpot theory you want, but in his particular case, his vocal belief in this crackpot theory is literally costing him millions of dollars and lots of sponsorships. So this is a huge deal. This is literally the equivalent of getting divorced all over again, except instead of Kim walking off with all your money, it's all your business sponsors and partners walking away with your future income. So we looked at the chart. Well, here's what I found that was fascinating, and this is why we're doing the chart. So Kanye West carries Icarus. Remember we talked about Icarus in the other video with Meghan and Harry. He carries Icarus right here in opposition to his natal Saturn. So we know that Icarus has a lot to do with limitless ambition and overreach and this overconfident belief that there are limits apply to other people, but not to you, right? So no matter how high you think you can go, they believe they can go higher. The sky is the limit for other people. For themselves, the sky is not even a limit. So with that um, Icarus activity, there's also hubris, right? Or this confident arrogance that these things don't apply to you. Rules and limitations don't apply to you. And we are clearly seeing that in his life. Now, the thing to understand about this is that Icarus has been operating in his chart since birth. This is a part of his blueprint. So the sky is a limit for other people, but not for me, because even the sky is not a limitation. Sort of ambition has been with him since birth. And again, just like when we looked at Meghan Markle and Harry in their wedding chart, how well supported or challenged that Icarus is in a person's chart will tell you a lot about how easily they are able to reach their lofty goals, or their almost impossible goals. And he has certainly been successful in achieving exactly what he set out to do. So his Icarus and his wildest ambitions that other people would never think possible goals have been supported throughout his life. And we can also see that here, right? So here's Icarus, there's his natal sun with conjunct Jupiter, right? And Pluto in Libra. So he has a grand trine in air involving that Icarus, which means that his greatest ambitions and dreams and goals would have been very easily supported in his lifetime. Add to this that his sun is conjunct the fixed star Regal, which absolutely indicates wealth and honors in this lifetime. And it's conjunct Jupiter, which is a very supportive planet, which also means that this is merit. He's done things in previous lifetimes that have afforded him merit and support in this lifetime where his goals and ambitions are concerned. And if we add into this mix as part of this grand trine, Pluto represents not wealth, not richy rich wealth. Pluto represents obscene wealth, right? We're talking like billionaire boys club wealth. And I don't know what his actual wealth status was prior to everybody dropping him like a hot potato this week, but I'm sure it was significant. The man had entirely too much money to not have me as his girlfriend to help him spend that money. I'm just saying. So Icarus in his chart was well supported, so those lofty, lofty goals and ambitions and dreams were also well supported in his lifetime. The catch, though, is that this Icarus, right, this obscene, unbounded ambition, right, is opposed by Saturn in the natal chart. So one of the things that we think about with Icarus is always going to be hubris, right, or arrogant confidence, this sense of entitlement and privilege. These limitations and rules don't apply to me. Hubris is a level of arrogance that's beyond the pale. So, and we have to guard against that because that is what caused Icarus to fall to his death when he was flying with his father to escape, the island of Menos. With Saturn opposing Icarus, what this also means is that in spite of, this beautiful grand trine out here supporting that Icarus, if we overstep our bounds too much, if we go too far, if our hubris gets the best of us and we start to really believe that we are untouchable and that we can say or do whatever we want, Saturn will bring down the hammer and the heavy penalties in huge, huge ways. So where other people might get a little humbled when Icarus brings them back down to Earth, with Saturn involved, there's a very heavy karmic penalty that comes with going too far, having hubris, not thinking that you have that you are untouchable and you can say and do whatever you want because these things don't apply to you, right? You can go wherever you want, do whatever you want, all sort of stuff. So it is a very heavy, painful position to have. And when Saturn is involved in this particular aspect with this particular asteroid, when it brings you down to Earth, it will bring you down to Earth literally like a plane hurtling towards a rock or a boulder. It will be much more painful than it would be if you were anybody else. So clearly, what's happening now with these conspiracy theory-based anti-Semitic remarks and everybody literally dumping him faster than a bad case of oof, there had to be something happening in the chart as well, activating Icarus and certainly activating something else that would explain this, hair on fire kind of response that he's created for himself. Well, remember, we've been dealing with a Saturn-Uranus square all last year and all through this year, right? And because it's exact right now, we're finally to the last pass of this. And that Saturn-Uranus square brings the hammer down, right? It is the stone breaker, it breaks up impasses, but it also literally breaks stone. So there's a tremendous amount of calculated force that comes with a Saturn-Uranus square when it's being activated. As we look at his chart, my highlighter here, he has been dealing with this for quite some time. So, so Saturn is here. It's been sitting on top of his Icarus. And Uranus has been over here setting up a square. And this is involving his natal Saturn. So he has, in effect, had a Saturn-Uranus-Saturn T-square, which honestly I wouldn't wish on anybody. So this has been going on for quite some time. I'm not completely sure what his history is. I'll go back and look later. And you can certainly look it up. And if you're familiar with him, you already know what's been going on in his life the last couple of years. But he has been under fire. He has definitely been under fire the last few years. As a matter of fact, I think he got divorced in 2021. So that would have been part of this, right? Now, with that said, Saturn and Uranus are making their last pass at each other right now, and this is happening as, this is kind of getting kicked off. So there's a lot of forced separation that's occurring with this, and it is the penalty, because it's Saturn, 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 right? It is the penalty for going too far or overreach or hubris, literally hubris. While this is happening, as of this last week, Mars is at 25-ish Gemini, right? So Mars has been right here coming to a standstill. And Mars has been, wreaking havoc, not for everybody, but for some people, it's definitely been wreaking havoc. Now, we don't have a time of birth for him. So we don't know where Mars is in his chart. If he is born close to 7 in the morning, Mars is going to be really close to or on the ascendant, which makes all kinds of sense. All of these cleavings and separations from business partners. But if he was not born at 7 a.m., then this week, while Mars is making its station, it is making a wide or a continuing square to the moon. Remember, we don't know what time he was born. So this particular chart is set up for 7 a.m., which puts the moon here at 15. If he was born later in the day, the moon is going to be later in Pisces, which will make it closer to a square to that Mars, which is absolutely going to set off or kick off that Moon-Mars square in the charts. So he's not having a good time. Now, I just want to say that as we speak, February, Saturn and Icarus will be together at about 25 Aquarius. And by then, actually I wouldn't even worry about it, because by then this will not apply to him. He will have gotten this much sooner than that. So let's get rid of that. Sorry, I'm literally doing this as I'm talking to you. Oh, honey, right? So Mars is making its station at 25 Gemini. We don't really know what that's doing. But look here, right? We just took this eclipse at, 0 Scorpio, 2 Scorpio. Well, that Scorpio eclipse we just took, is dead on his Venus-Mars. Just on this side, the eclipse is here. So it's like 0, 2. It's like 2 Scorpio. So this 2 Scorpio eclipse involved is Uranus, right? It's a little wide, but it's still there. More importantly, it absolutely activated that Venus-Mars conjunction. Now, what this means is that these losses that are literally falling like dominoes, one sponsor after the other, this is just the beginning. This is not over. This is in effect for at least 6 months. I expect to see because this eclipse is going to get activated in November. So I expect to see more of this next month, and then by the time we get to February, it's going to be all over Chiron. So that is the kind of large scale things that we can expect. Talk about again a karmic spanking when Icarus and Saturn are involved. And remember, transiting Saturn right now is right here, doubly emphasizing both Icarus and his natal Saturn, that opposition. And Uranus is there, forcing the issue, setting up a T-square, and he's taking this eclipse right here to his Venus-Mars. Now, we don't know what house or houses or areas of life the Venus-Mars conjunction is ruling because we don't have a time of birth, and I don't have time to sit down and rectify the chart. But Venus and Mars are in Taurus in his chart, so absolutely his foundations, the things that he stands on as stable structures, are absolutely being challenged, and that's a nice way to put things. So there's that, and this is Icarus in action, right? Saturn and Icarus together. He's not getting away with it, and the most important thing that has to be learned with Icarus is modesty, humility, and reason, right? Keeping our expectations and ambitions in check and listening to the guidance of other people. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he has a lot of people around him that can serve as any meaningful kind of guidance. And this coupled with the fact that he may have mental health issues on top of having just had his family taken away from him because of the divorce and having no one else because he has no siblings, and his mother, who was very close to, obviously died back in 1990, no, in 2007. He essentially has no one. He's a boat without an anchor, just kind of floating around at the mercy of everything around him. And that's very concerning. That's very concerning. If people had any kind of integrity around them, they would certainly be keeping an eye on him to make sure he's not completely unraveling. And so there's that. So let's take a quick peek at Kanye's natal chart, and then we're going to finish up. So first things first, and this is amazing, right? So if you look, again, he's got the Sun conjunct the fixed star Regal, which is about talent, inventiveness, and wealth, conjunct Jupiter, which is at 14 Gemini. So there's a lot of Jupiterian mercurial energy for him, and also he's bringing with him a lot of merit. He's earned good things in his lifetime because of things that he's done in a past lifetime. So don't you kid yourself. Doing good things does pay off eventually. Now, this Sun-Jupiter is opposing Neptune. So what this is going to do is it's going to give us someone who's a visionary. When a Sun-Jupiter-Neptune combination like this in Gemini Sag dreams and sees things, they dream and see things in large, technicolor, futuristic vision. Their vision is much broader and much more expansive and much more forward-thinking than the people around them. I would imagine he had difficulty concentrating in school because his imagination was constantly working overtime. And again, he won an art scholarship in 1997 when he was 20 to go to a very significant art college, I believe in Chicago. And that's a big deal. So he's, clearly an artist. He's got the artist brain happening. Now, with this opposition, we've got the moon, depending on where it is, because we don't know what time he was born, setting up a T-square to Sun, Jupiter, and Neptune. Now, what this will do, because the moon also rules hearing, and Pisces absolutely rules the arts and music, it's going to, one, give him a very sensitive ear. So I would imagine loud noise. He loves silence and loud noises and aggressive voices and just, the cacophony of a vulgar, coarse, base level living would literally drive him up a tree. I mean, that's literally a great way to make him have a nervous breakdown. So I would imagine silence is delicious for him because he's so sensitive to sound, which also makes sense if he's a musician, right? Now, with the moon in Pisces, typically with moon in Pisces, you get people who are musically inclined or are poets, lyricists and poets. As well as musicians, because there's that cadence and rhythm to the sound of either the word or the instrument that they're hearing, and they have this ability to kind of make artistic pictures, with those things, which is a beautiful thing. So the T-square is going to emphasize this. With the moon in Pisces as the leg of the T-square, it's going to further emphasize his sensitivity, and his imagination and his creativity. So I would expect, because the Sun, Jupiter, and Gemini typically get somebody who's very garrulous and friendly and talkative. I mean, they could literally walk up to anybody and talk to them about anything. Super salesman, and especially with that Neptune and Sag on the other side of that. So Sun, Jupiter, Neptune gives you a super salesman, somebody who can talk to anybody, anywhere about anything. They're great conversationalists. They're not afraid to sit down and chat up just anyone, right? And walk away knowing their life history. The thing about it, though, which makes him very extroverted. So the thing about it, though, is this is a T squared that moon in Pisces, which is actually going to make him shy. Who knew? So this is actually going to make him very shy and extremely sensitive and a lot more introverted. He's going to be a lot less likely to push out into the world and get recharged dealing with people. He's one of these people that gets very drained if he has to deal with people for too long. And he recharges his battery with silence and solitude. So he can kind of commune with the ethers and all that's out there. So this pandemic, I'm sure he's probably actually happy as a clam because it limited the number of people he was forced to deal with and gave him lots of time for silence. So there's that. Now, the other thing that's notable in this chart, there's a few things. It's actually a really interesting chart. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Is this Venus-Mars Chiron conjunction in Taurus. So typically with Venus-Mars conjunctions in charts, you get people who are very comfortable telling people what they need. They have no problem putting their needs up front and on the table, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. With Venus in Taurus, which is its natural sign, it further emphasizes the sensuality and the pleasure in creature comforts that comes with Taurus. Venus and Mars together means there's a tremendous drive and motivation that comes from or is activated by food, things that feel good against their skin, soft, wonderful things, solid, heavy things. Venus and Mars and Taurus give somebody a taste. It tends to run towards the more solid and heavy, right? Hence his attraction to Kim Kardashian, who is definitely solid and heavy in the caboose. Good Lord, the girl's built like an anchor. So, for him, big, solid bodies, right? Big, solid, fleshy bodies really appeals to him. And because it's Taurus and Venus is in Taurus, he's very much about the classic fertile goddess, right? Big birthing hips, big wide hips, big thighs. These are the things that really appeal to him in a very primitive, primal sort of way because it's Mars, Venus and Mars. So there's that. And the other thing is with Venus and Mars together, especially in Taurus, he's not big on sharing. He's a very selfish, jealous kind of person. You'll never find him in an open or a poly relationship. That would never be comfortable for him. Although I will say with Uranus down here, as part of that Venus-Mars combination, Venus-Mars-Uranus, he does, he he has some interesting predilections. Let's put it that way. But in terms of day-to-day stuff, I don't really see him doing well in like a polygamous household where he's got to manage 26 people, and 4 different relationships sort of stuff. Now, right, with Venus and Mars together though in Taurus, he's very much about being a good provider. So once he's invested. He doesn't want things to change, leave, or move. So this divorce would have been absolutely traumatizing for him because this is so not what he wants or needs. Like once he's invested, he's invested. And also remember, right, he is really sensitive and he needs a very carefully maintained environment for him to be able to keep his head together because he's very easily thrown off balance by noise and cacophony and hostility and aggressiveness and coarse and vulgar. Ugh. So, It's not that he needs to live in a museum, but he has to have a very well maintained and well protected environment for him to be able to function and get the best out of himself. And this also means that once he gets married, he expects the marriage to be part of that and not have it ripped out from underneath him. I can't even imagine how he's actually in real life been dealing with this divorce. I imagine it extremely difficult for him, and destabilizing, and destabilizing. So, there's that. Okay, now the other thing I want to point out with this chart, and this I thought was just amazing, right? He has Mercury conjunct Algol, the fixed star Algol. Now, I know everybody's like, oh, Algol, he's crazy, he's going to lose his head, blah, blah, blah. Because Algol, historically, or well, in medieval definitions, is associated with beheading or losing one's mind, or literally losing one's head, as it were. But I'm here to tell you again, we did a video on this before, and I'll do it again. I'll repeat it. Algol is the star of feminine power. So where Algol, the fixed star, shows up prominent in a chart, in a woman's chart, you're going to find somebody who in this lifetime must engage with and become familiar with the workings of feminine power, not feminine wiles, but feminine power, raw power, and all the pushback that comes with it, because Algol is about feminism, or what we call feminism in the current modern day, right, under the current construct of civilization. In a man's chart, when you find Algol involved in personal planets in the chart or the angles, what you're going to find is a man who has a deep love and appreciation for powerful women, right? They see women as powerful, they see women as goddesses. They understand the intrinsic value of strong women. Um, and they're okay with that, right? So it's not one of these things where they have to go announcing to the world, oh my God, I love, super powerlifting women, or whatever. It's not like that. But there's this deep and instinctive understanding about the raw primal power of womanhood and motherhood, and they're there with it. They get it, they appreciate it, they love it. They have no issues with it. There's no questions about it. I mean, unless Algol is challenged by other planets, then they might have issues. I mean, one of these, incels or something like that. That's a whole other conversation. Algol also represents wealth in this lifetime, so it's not unthinkable that he would have achieved wealth through mercurial things. Well, what is a mercurial thing? The spoken word. And what is his music primarily focused on? Not instrumentals, but the spoken word. So I thought that was interesting and that popped up in there. Now, the next question, of course, is just as an aside, like, is Algol supported or not supported in the chart? And what we're not actually finding is anything challenging Algol. In fact, this moon, it's close, right? But if he's born after 7, that makes the moon even closer to a sextile with Algol supporting it. And also this instinctive natural appreciation for the divinity and the goddess in women, in all women. So I thought that was just lovely. I just thought that was lovely. I imagine he's a very doting, adoring partner. Um, a woman, if he loves somebody, a woman would be very lucky to have him. Because the other thing too is that with a moon in Pisces, he's going to be extremely romantic, right? And we've seen some of this with the public displays that he's done when he was courting Kim. And I'm sure there's a whole lot more that we don't see, that's part of their day-to-day life, or was part of their day-to-day life. But that he would be extremely romantic, which is also why he's so sensitive and why that divorce would have been remarkably traumatic for him. We should probably do a compatibility chart between those two, but I don't imagine I'm going to find anything good because, Kim Kardashian. Anyway, so there's that. There's that. Now, if he is born close to 7 a.m., which is possible, it's going to make him Mercury rising. I think he might be Cancer rising, but he could be Mercury rising. And if he is Mercury rising, or Gemini rising, that makes Mercury his chart ruler, which would make sense. If he's Cancer rising, that's going to make the moon his chart ruler as part of that T-square, which definitely makes sense because he is certainly a musical genius, and an artiste. So he's quite the fascinating character, and this is not the last we're going to see of him. Although I do say, and I'll say it again and again and again, I think the poor boy has got some mental health issues that have been exacerbated by the divorce, and really, really, really should be addressed. He needs good counsel and support around him, and I don't think he has that. But then a lot of us don't have that, so he's at least in good company on that front. So again, right now he's got a Saturn Icarus opposition. Transiting Saturn and Uranus are setting up a T-square to that Icarus Saturn opposition, which is really bringing the hammer down for anything that even remotely smacks of hubris, or just getting out of pocket or beyond yourself. And at the same time, he just took this eclipse, which is definitely going to be in effect for the next 6 months, certainly for the next 6 weeks. So Humpty Dumpty has taken a serious fall here, and I don't know that he's ever really going to be completely recovered after this, which is unfortunate. Which is unfortunate. So that is the power of Icarus, my friends. That is the power of Icarus. And here to finish the video are some pictures of Kanye's children, the little cutie pies. Right? So these are his 4 kids, which he's now got joint custody with the wife. This is his mother, Donda, who died tragically in 2007 from or during a plastic surgery procedure. My understanding, she died of a heart attack, but it was certainly sudden and unexpected, and she was an extremely important part of his life. She was his best friend, his manager, his confessor, his mother, just a lot of things um, that were very, very important in helping him get to where he is, or was at that time, and certainly moving forward. And he doesn't have any brothers or sisters, and he doesn't have a relationship with his father. So literally, his mother was all the family he had, and when she was gone, that was huge. It was just a huge, devastating loss for him, and that loss occurred in 2007. Um, a few years later, in 2013, he had his first child, and that went on to become the series of stair steps with the family, building his family. And so 2013, he had the first child. Mom died in 2007, right? In 2014, he broke down and married the girl, who then proceeded to have 3 more children, just make sure that those little baby anchors were working. And in 2021, Ms. Kardashian decided that it was time to what is it? Pull up anchors and leave and take the kids with her. And then she's since gotten involved with, I don't know, it seems like some tall tattooed guy, or is that the other sister? I can't keep track anymore. So in any event, uh, Kanye, I wildly disagree with him on a lot of things, especially with this MAGA supporting and this conspiracy theory crap and this whole anti-Semitic thing. Like, that's just hateful, ignorant nonsense, and I don't agree with any of it. I'm really, really sorry he's gone down that rabbit hole. But again, I also think he's got mental health issues, and that's not helping the case, right? It's certainly not helping the position here. So in 2007, he lost his entire family, which was basically his mother. His mother was his only and entire family. Shortly after that, he got involved with Kim, right? And then proceeded to have his first child in 2013. A year after that, they finally got married, right? And then she proceeded to have 3 more children. So there are 4 children that came out of his relationship with Kim. Kim and Kanye were married 7 years, 2014, 2020. Yeah, like 7 years. And then she decided she had had enough and she wanted out. So she left, took the kids with her. So what does Kanye have left? He has his fans and, his empire. But other than that, he doesn't really have a lot in terms of support or guidance or mentorship. And the problem is with that Icarus in his chart, it's a little hard to get him to listen in the first place, which is why it's even more important that he has good, strong guidance and counsel with people who are there and have his back. he has nothing right now. Nothing. The kids can't help him because they're kids. The mother's gone, and this one, right? She left. We know what her thing is about. So he doesn't have anybody to kind of keep him, on a good course correction. I feel really bad about that. So, but you reap the whirlwinds, you get what you sow. So that's where that's at. Hopefully, this fall from grace that's occurring with all this Icarus activity and the eclipse activity that's absolutely making a mess of his financial empire because he shot himself in the foot and did it to himself. Let's see how those MAGA supporters are about supporting him now that he's about to go bankrupt. Hopefully, this will put him in a position to recognize that it might be time to get some help, some mental health help, and to start working on strong relationships with people that are worth keeping around in your life. Um, so there's that. There's that. God bless him. I hope he gets some help. All right, so that is our video about Kanye West and Icarus and a little quick brief look at his natal chart. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like button and let me know. If you would like to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get notification when the videos come up. And if you know somebody who might enjoy this, absolutely feel free to share the video. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.